Hello, this is going to be literary and jury charge for the 100 class. I'm going to start off with this is called Witness's Answer, and I'm going to read this one time at 80, and then I'm going to bump it up to 100. Okay, here we go. Ready? Well, after she wrapped her car around the light pole, she climbed out. While she was still wringing her hands, the wrecker showed up. The whole front end was caved in, and they had to wrest the car from beneath the pole. I didn't give one whit about the car. I just wanted to be sure that her wrist wasn't broken. It took quite a whack on the steering wheel, and she really turned white. Okay, so now I'm going to read that same paragraph again, but I'm going to read this at 100. Okay, here we go. Ready? Well, after she wrapped her car around the light pole, she climbed out. While she was still wringing her hands, the wrecker showed up. The whole front end was caved in, and they had to wrest the car from beneath the pole. I didn't give one whit about the car. I just wanted to be sure her wrist wasn't broken. It took quite a whack on the steering wheel, and she really turned white. Okay, so I've got some legal opinion for you. Here we go. Ready? The plaintiff, Anna B. Mandrake, brought an action in the Common Pleas Court of this county against the defendant, William H. Mandrake, in which she filed for a divorce from the defendant upon the ground of extreme cruelty. The defendant filed an answer in which he admitted the marriage of the plaintiff and the defendant at the time set forth in the petition, and that one child had been born of the marriage, and denied each and every other allegation in the plaintiff's petition contained. For a further defense, the defendant alleged that in an action brought in the Court of Common Pleas of Montgomery County in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the plaintiff therein, William H. Mandrake, filed for a divorce from the said Anna B. Mandrake, and that on the 6th day of November 2015, the Court of Common Pleas of Montgomery, Pennsylvania, rendered its judgment and its decree granting to the plaintiff therein, William H. Mandrake, a divorce for the aggressions of the respondent therein, Anna B. Mandrake. It was further pleaded that such Court of Common Pleas was a court of general jurisdiction, and that the judgment of divorce granted therein was in full effect. The answer was the only answer received. Upon the trial of the case in the Common Pleas Court of this county, the plaintiff was called as a witness and testified on her own behalf. And at the conclusion of her evidence, the plaintiff rested. Thereupon, the defendant made a motion to dismiss the petition on the ground that the plaintiff had furnished no corroboration of her testimony, such motion being based upon the statutory provision that a divorce shall not be granted upon uncorroborated testimony of a party to the action. The motion being overruled, the defendant introduced in evidence a complete transcript of the record and papers in the proceedings had in the Court of Common Pleas of Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, in the case referred to in his answer. This transcript of the record of that case was duly authenticated according to the law. The defendant then renewed his motion to dismiss the petition on several grounds, the principal ones among them being that the evidence showed that the plaintiff had not been a resident of the state of Ohio for a year immediately preceding the commencement of the action, and that her testimony had not been corroborated. Thereupon, the court overruled the motion of the defendant and proceeded to grant to the plaintiff a decree of divorce upon the ground of extreme cruelty as charged in her petition. Then a motion for new trial was eventually filed and overruled by the court, to which action of the court defendant accepted. The proceeding in this court is for the purpose of reversing the judgment of the Common Pleas Court. The first question presenting itself is as to whether or not this court has jurisdiction to review the judgment of the Common Pleas Court on error. It is claimed that the decision in Parish versus Parish is authority against the jurisdiction of this court to make such a review of the case. The case of Parish versus Parish determined that a decree of divorce, although obtained by fraud and false testimony, could not be set aside on an original bill filed at a subsequent term. This decision was based upon the proposition that sound public policy requires that a judgment or decree which affects directly the status of married persons by sundering the matrimonial tie and thereby enabling them to contract new matrimonial relations with other and innocent persons should never be reopened. It was said in the course of the opinion that such a course would endanger the peace and good order of society and the happiness and well-being of those who, innocently relying upon the stability of a decree of a court of competent jurisdiction, have formed a connection with the person who, wrongfully perhaps, secured its promulgation. Okay, there's more to that, but we're going to stop there. We'll finish that up in the next class. I have an article here on Heartline, more on magnesium. Here we go. Ready? Benefits of magnesium. Evidence regarding the importance of magnesium for cardiovascular health continues to accumulate. 7 previous trials involving a total of 1,300 patients with suspected heart attack showed that magnesium supplements reduced the number of deaths. Now, a large study from England has confirmed this finding when magnesium was given during the early hours after suspected heart attack. Survival improved by 24% over the first 4 weeks. At the Royal Infirmary, 2,316 patients admitted to the coronary care unit were randomly assigned to receive either intravenous magnesium or a placebo. Heart attacks were ultimately diagnosed in 65% of the patients. After 28 days, the death rate was 10.3% among those receiving the placebo and 7.8% among those given magnesium. This difference indicates that magnesium might lower mortality by about 25 deaths per 1,000 patients treated. Moreover, magnesium therapy reduced the incidence of left ventricular failure, an important predictor of survival and long-term quality of life. The use of other drugs, such as aspirin or thrombolytic or clot-busting agents, did not diminish magnesium's benefits, although in some cases the magnesium infusions caused side effects such as flushing of the skin or a slowed heart rate. None of these problems were serious. Based on this study, magnesium may become routine therapy during heart attacks, especially since the benefits of magnesium infusion are about the same as those afforded by other heart attack medications such as aspirin or beta blockers, but with less risk involved. Additional research will be needed to determine the mechanism responsible for magnesium's beneficial effects and how this mineral may interact with other proven therapies in order to target specific patient populations likely to be helped. Okay. I've got some advice from Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. This is on Choose Your Battles Wisely. Here we go. Ready? Choose your battles wisely is a popular phrase in parenting, but is equally important in living a contented life. It suggests that life is filled with opportunities to choose between making a big deal out of something or simply letting it go, realizing it doesn't really matter. If you choose your battles wisely, you'll be far more effective in winning those that are truly important. Certainly, there will be times when you will want or need to argue, confront, or even fight for something you believe in. Many people, however, argue, confront, and fight over practically anything, turning their lives into a series of battles over relatively small stuff. There is so much frustration in living this type of life that you lose track of what is truly relevant. The tiniest disagreement or glitch in your plans can be made into a big deal if your goal, conscious or unconscious or conscious, is to have everything work out in your favor. In my book, this is nothing more than a prescription for unhappiness and frustration. The truth is, life is rarely exactly the way we want it to be, and other people often don't act as we would like them to. Moment to moment, there are aspects of life that we like and others that we don't. There are always going to be people who disagree with you, people who do things differently, and things that don't work out. If you fight against this principle of life, you'll spend most of your life fighting battles. A more peaceful way to live is to decide consciously which battles are worth fighting and which are better left alone. If your primary goal isn't to have everything work out perfectly, but instead to live a relatively stress-free life, you'll find that most battles pull you away from your most tranquil feelings. Is it really important that you prove to your spouse that you are right and she is wrong, or that you confront someone simply because it appears as though he or she has made a minor mistake? Does your preference of which restaurant or movie to go to matter enough to argue over it? Does a small scratch on your car really warrant a suit in small claims court? Does the fact that your neighbor won't park his car on a different part of the street have to be discussed at your family dinner table? These and thousands of other small things are what many people spend their lives fighting about. Take a look at your own list. If it's like mine used to be, you might want to reevaluate your priorities. If you don't want to sweat the small stuff, it's critical that you choose your battles wisely. If you do, there will come a day when you'll rarely feel the need to do battle at all. Great advice. That's why I love this book. Don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff. Okay, that concludes our literary and jury charge for the 100 class. Have a great day.